this is another episode of the Civitas Institute's Talk of the State program. Joining me today is Brian Balfour, Senior Policy Analyst here at the Civitas Institute. Brian, you recently had an op-ed piece in the Fayetteville Observer talking about the effect of the Federal Stimulus Act on North Carolina's economy.
Yeah, that's correct, and that was as a result of actually a study we commissioned by an economic consulting firm by the name of Arthur Laffer and More Econometrics, and a lot of folks might recognize Arthur Laffer is the head of that group. He was considered the father of supply-side economics, served under Ronald Reagan as one of his chief economic advisors. But at any rate, the findings of the study was that, contrary to a lot of the mainstream beliefs out there, the federal stimulus spending will actually result in a net loss of as many as 67,000 jobs here in North Carolina.
Just in North Carolina alone?
Yes.
So what the government's going to do, they're going to take tax dollars out of taxpayers' pockets, either now or through credit obligations in the future, and they're going to take that money and do make-work jobs here. These aren't New Deal type of jobs. We're not building new public works projects. They typically have been finishing existing projects or filling in potholes or that type of thing. And so if that money had been left in private hands, what would the effect have been?
Right, exactly. I mean, that's the heart of the study here is government does not have any money on its own to spend. Any dollar that a government spends first must be taken from private citizens, either through taxation, like you said, or borrowed from the capital markets, which of course crowds out private available capital as well. So what happens is there's a trade-off there. There's an opportunity cost of the money that the government's taking out of the economy, money that could have been left in the private economy for productive purposes, productive investments, which are going to promote future income or revenue streams for businesses, to allow businesses to expand, to allow businesses to improve productivity measures, which of course would lead to greater employment, greater wage gains as well. And what happens when, conversely, when government spends the money, it's just purely consuming these resources, and there's no future income flows that are going to be resulting into the private economy. So that's really the negative trade-off there when, again, the private economy contracts to fuel the government spending, and the result is going to be fewer jobs than there otherwise would have been.
So let me ask you this. Anytime government gets its hands on money, it gets bigger. So once the stimulus money has passed through the system, do you anticipate that government will contract in its size, it will get smaller as the money flows out of it? Or do you think it'll stay the same size, or be larger than it was before?
Right, well as we've seen over the course of history, government really isn't in the business in shrinking itself back down to size. It's kind of a ratchet effect that's been discussed quite a bit during wars, for instance, and instances like this, where these kind of fiscal stimulus policies, where they kind of ratchet up of spending, they don't really fall back down. They just kind of use that as the baseline and continue upwards. One thing that is a concern, and also to North Carolina, is what are we going to do in terms of the state budget in 2 years from now when the federal dollars dry up? The state government is using, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 billion over the next 2 years of federal dollars to help balance the state budget. What happens after that? How is the state going to manage its spending commitments once those billions in federal dollars dry up? So that would be a concern as well for North Carolina's economy.
Will they continue to make the obligations that require that extra money, or are they willing to make the hard choices?
Right, exactly, and the track record of late doesn't bode very well. But it seems like they tend to opt to reach into taxpayers' pockets to finance the spending rather than try to implement some serious spending reform.
Well, there you have it. I think there are several questions that we need to ask about federal stimulus dollars being spent in North Carolina. It's not free money. It doesn't just fall out of the sky, and we certainly need to hold our elected officials accountable on how they spend that money and how that money affects our state government. So thank you for joining us, Brian. Join us again when we'll discuss more important issues that concern you and our state.